everyone. My name's Duncan White. I'm the managing editor of the International Fire and Safety Journal, and I'm delighted today to be joined by representatives from UL. Gentlemen, good afternoon. Simon, how are you?
Very good, thank you, Duncan.
Excellent. Richard, also, I'm going to come to you. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and then before we move on and learn more about your colleagues.
Sure. Great to be here. My name's Richard Bristow. I'm the head of CPR certification in the UK, and I've been in the fire detection industry a little over 20 years. And I sit on various FAA, PSI, and notified body groups.
Excellent. So a vast depth of knowledge and experience that we're looking forward to sharing. Chris, looking to you, sir. How are you today?
Hi, Duncan. I'm really good, thank you. Nice to meet you. So I've been in the industry since 1995, so 30 years now, it seems like. I'm with UL since 2012. I'm the program owner for the Construction Products Regulation and UL mark, and I am the subject matter expert for fire stopping and various other building products.
Excellent. Simon, I started with you, and I'm coming back to you to kick off with the first question. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and also tell us about UL Solutions. What are the company looking at, focusing on, and what can the listener look to get out of today's podcast?
Yeah, so if I just introduce myself first, I've worked for UL for 6 years now. I'm currently in the Codes and Regulatory Services, which is basically monitoring standards, initiatives, directives from the European Union, those kind of things, and seeing how our TIC business, testing, inspection, and certification business can support those kind of roles. I also sit on committees, just like the other guys do. I'm on BSI committees, trade association committees, so that keeps me busy. Parliamentary kind of committees as well, so I kind of get involved at that kind of regulatory end of the spectrum.
Excellent. So you're certainly well represented as individuals and companies in the must-be committees. Excellent.
Yeah. So a little bit about UL Solutions then, Duncan. We've been around for 130 years since our founder, William Henry Merrill, was asked to go to a trade show in Chicago, Illinois, which is where our headquarters are based. He was asked to look at the kind of electricity was new then, and products were all newfangled and not very reliable, and sometimes burst into flames. So he was kind of asked to go in there and check the safety of the electrical core. Since then, we've kind of expanded. We're in 40 different countries now. Got over 15,000 employees, and we basically get involved in everywhere where there's kind of a safety need. So from pharmaceuticals to electrical goods, you've probably got something in your house that's got a UL mark on the back of it, like a fridge or your laptop or TV or something like that. Car parts, electric grids, those kind of things. But our core is really the built environment. So construction and particularly fire safety. In 1910, we issued the first fire door test methodology. So that's how long we've been interested in those kind of elements of fire safety.
Excellent. And it's a very unexpected history lesson there, but fascinating. And it always is good for me to learn a lot more about the history behind a brand that we all know so well. So we're going to look at UL and EU, a voluntary certification scheme. And so why is voluntary certification so important, Simon?
Well, voluntary certification kind of fills a void. It's like a technical reference, if you will. So someone is given a technical reference to a product or a system. And if you imagine you're not an expert in that kind of field, then you're going to rely on someone else. So you need that someone else to go independently. We all know what kind of manufacturers' marketing materials like. It's very grandiose, so it's kind of advertising this is the best thing since sliced bread. But obviously, if we can confirm that that product conforms to regulatory standards, then that's a good starting point. It's part of the due diligence process for someone.
Chris, is there anything you'd like to add into what Simon's just explained to us there?
Yes, indeed. Certification is often just thought of as a product's been tested, and therefore it's fit for purpose. But certification does go a lot further than that. It is partially about the evaluation of the product by test, but it's also ensuring that that product that is actually available, it's being sold and put into buildings is actually represented by those tests, and that it can therefore be seen that it's a safe product.
Excellent. And again, that the whole certification process in terms of reassurance to the end user is certainly paramount when you're looking at the procurement process. So in relation to third-party products, Richard, I'm going to come to you. Can you tell me what types of products can be certified under ULEU?
Yeah, sure. So I think on the active side, we cover fire detection alarm systems, largely encompassing the EM54 series of standards. We have a comprehensive coverage of those, and with the add-ons like smoke alarms, extinguishing control devices, we've got a really solid range there that we can do and service a lot of different types of products.
Excellent. Chris, in relation to passive, I know this is the an area of your expertise. Give us an overview on how the certification works within that area.
Sure. So in the passive area, we certificate quite a few other products, such as fire stopping. That's where essential services pass through walls and floors, and how to ensure that those still maintain the compartmentation, door sets, glass and glazing, partitions, active fire curtains, quite a wide spread of products. And of course, as we said earlier, what we're looking to do is ensure that the product that's being sold by the manufacturer is available and is being fitted into buildings, is properly tested and is represented by those tests, so that we can be confident that in the event of a fire where you may need a 30-minute fire door or a 60-minute fire door as an example, that those products that are fitted in there will actually provide that kind of performance.
Yeah, it's the passive side of the industry that certainly is attracting my focus at the moment, and myself and the colleagues at IFSJ are very much pushing the passive side of the market, which appears to be very often the poor relation when it comes to protection of premises and the understated how much they actually provide in the overall safety. Simon, I'm coming to you to carry on the thread of construction products and obviously the need for them to be safe. So how does UL assist in that overall process?
Well, obviously, we've got our kind of mandatory certification, which is UKCA and CE marking, and maybe Chris could explain that a bit more in detail about what that mandatory is and why it's mandatory. But we've also got voluntary certification as well. So ULEU is our kind of European certification. I think it's about 60% or 70% of construction products don't have mandatory certification. So therefore, there's lots of products on the market that could do with this kind of conformity assessment, which says this product conforms to a certain standard. And it's really important because in the building codes, all the kind of European building codes are very, well, not all of them, I should say. Many of them are prescriptive. So it basically says if you're going to install this, it has to perform to a certain standard according to this test. It's not a guarantee that it's going to do the same on the day in a fire situation, but it gives you a guidance. So a 30-minute fire door, for example, that goes on the front door of a flat. So you can say by test, it's given us 30 minutes. And therefore, if you set it up like this and put it in, it's probably going to give you 30 minutes. There's variables and dependables on that. But prescription. So it's about being able to confirm the performance of that product and also the scope of the product as well. A lot of time, manufacturers that do a one-off test will kind of just send the product in. It may be something like a range of wallpaper, something like that. And in the building codes, it says if it's going to go in the means of escape, it should be a B classification in the UK, for example. And that product, that single product might be a range called escape or something like that, which might incorporate 27 different colors, 3 thicknesses, 2 different backings, but it's called the same because it's in a range and it's all been designed by the same person, etc. Those things like thicknesses and densities and color even affect the performance of that. So in a one-off test, you might get one sample put on there, but do all the other samples, all the other different variations do the same thing? Do they perform exactly the same? And sometimes in a testing regime, we found that things like, red, has got a more organic pigment in there, so therefore it performs differently and it goes out of spec. But how would you know that unless you've got kind of that range assessment? So that's why certification covers the end use application, but also the variants with it, for example.
Excellent. Chris, would you like to add anything on there from what Simon's just told us?
Yeah, just a little bit about the CE mark and the UKCA mark as well, of course. So the CE mark is there to indicate if a product complies with the minimum legal requirements within the EU member states. It allows as a passport essentially to be able to sell the product in any European country. But that does not indicate a certain level of quality. It's not a quality mark. It's a minimum level to be permitted to sell the product. And that's where third-party certification can differentiate. It can show the product is absolutely fit for the purpose that it's being intended by applying more rigid criteria, extra criteria to ensure that that product is a fire-safe product.
Excellent. Richard, I'm coming to you with the next one. We've heard that where testing is a one-off. So what does the UL certification process provide manufacturers with in terms of over and above that test?
Again, talking in the active fire detection area, I think rather than just going getting a single test result, the ULU scheme involves, the certification body as overview of that testing. As certification bodies, we take responsibility for that test data, which means we get a product, we assess the product, and we put together a test plan. We put together a worst case test plan. So we need to evaluate the product, its parameters, develop a test plan for the lab to follow. The lab obviously go away and do that, follow that test plan, and then we carefully review the results at the other end. So it is having that oversight over the testing that really makes that difference.
Excellent. So I'm right in saying that one size will never fit all, and there's a need to look at each area differently and provide the right fit for that product.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So quality assurance is something that we hear a lot about now. And Simon, coming to you and looking at how that, it appears to me that this is more than just tests and certifications. It's more of an overall quality assurance scheme. And how is UL used in practice?
It is. Come back to that technical reference. If you were a kind of a regulator and someone said, I'm going to install this set of fire doors in kind of this building, you'd want to know, you'd ask yourself questions. Well, when has it been tested? What was tested? How does that compare to what I'm getting to go into, what's been installed in this building? Is it going to be the same as what was tested? The test was 3 years ago. So if the test was 3 years ago, is it still the same kind of product? Where has it been made? Is it in the same factory even? Has it been shipped off? Where are they using the same raw materials? Because things like raw materials can change. If you use a different adhesive or a different form of laminate, something like that, or a different type of wood, then does that still stack up? So it's basic use for due diligence and also procurement as well. So if you're procuring that, if you're a developer of a building and you're putting together a block of flats for a housing association, for example, you want to make sure that what's going into that building conforms to the regulations, and you can kind of provide that evidence as well. So that evidence is really important. It's something called the golden thread, where we've got the kind of details of that product, almost like a digital passport, if you like, where you can actually pull the certification off our website and have a look at it and say, right, it's called XYZ. These are the drawings. These are the details. This is a specification. This is a thickness. This is the diameters of penetrations, whatever it might be through there. And therefore, yes, that's what was tested and that's what's installed. So that's really, really important for stakeholders to have that information and have that confidence in the product itself, and that someone independently has done that. So obviously, as I said before, the manufacturer might have a spec sheet and a commercial sheet, marketing sheet that says this is great and this is what it's all about. But to have that ability to compare what was tested to what's installed is really why ULEU has been put in place.
Yeah, exactly, and it goes back to a comment I made earlier about the peace of mind for the end user. If yes, you'd expect to that the description and what it says on the tin is actually what you're taking out, but very often, especially with things coming in from further afield, that may not be the case, and so the ability to do your due diligence and to look and make sure that what you're buying is fit for purpose is.
Yeah, as a regulator, Doug, you couldn't do all the checks and balances that we do as a certification body. It's impossible for you to go to a factory in China just to check that fire doors that were made there fit for purpose, or an alarm detection system that's made in a factory in Italy, or whatever it might be. You wouldn't be able to go through that kind of process. So it's really important that regulators understand the process that we go through and trust the process. So if you're a regulator and you look at the details of our scheme, you can see that we do audit sampling. We take all the kind of descriptions and details from the manufacturer and check that they match what they're testing. We check the test protocols and what goes onto the test rig that is the same as the manufacturer declared, that we've sampled from the factory. We also go into the factory and check their kind of operating procedures and their quality manuals. How do we make sure that this product is produced the same on Tuesday as it is on Friday, and the competence of the people that operate those, and the internal checks and all those. As a kind of a regulator, if you're building control, you're not going to be able to do that. You can't go to that detail. So what you have to do then is rely on the third-party certification scheme like ULEU to give you that information. And obviously we're accredited as well. Maybe Richard could look at this, but the checkers are being checked. So if you like, it's not just us saying that we're an independent. Our UCAS come in and they check us.
Excellent. Richard, do you like to add on and continue on from what Simon's just told us there?
Yeah, it's like as Simon mentioned, as part of being a certification body, we too are subject to assessments ourselves by UCAS. They come in annually for our ULEU and UKCA accreditations, and they check every aspect of our certifications to 17 or 65.
So all the way through the process, you're checking somebody and somebody's checking you to give additional peace of mind. That's excellent. Chris, I'm going to come to you and look at how the stakeholders use the ULEU mark to verify their conformity.
Sure. So UL Solutions has a website called Product IQ. This is a completely searchable and freely available resource whereby you can search by product type, UL category numbers known as CCNs, file numbers, manufacturer's name, manufacturer's product name, all these kind of parameters to narrow down to products that are certificated under ULEU and actually view and download the certificate so that you can verify that the product you have in your hand that has a ULEU label on it saying that it's compliant, what the performance that product can do, and what UL guarantees that it has been verified.
Thank you. Richard, I'm going to come back to you in respect of the value that the ULEU mark gives manufacturers, please.
Yeah, so I can give an example of a European fire detection alarm system manufacturer. They've been selling products into South America for a number of years. They came to us to reevaluate the product. They gained the ULEU certification on their products. As a result, they had to put some extra shifts on at the factory to keep up with the new demand as a result of gaining the ULEU certification. So yeah, it was very well received and provided them with a nice problem to have.
Exactly. If the adoption of the EU mark is going to have that effect, then it's certainly a good example to use and share across the wider industry. Simon, I'm conscious of time, but I'm going to come back to you to look at how the ULEU mark contributes to the overall conformity, regulatory conformity in the UK specifically, please.
Yeah, well, it's quite topical at the moment, actually, in terms of the information that certification gives you and how that's used in building control, particularly for high-rise residential buildings. They've got a whole new kind of gateway system where in Gateway 2, the detail design that in the REBA stage of works, Royal Institute of Building Architects, that's been brought forward. So before the building is constructed, you have to kind of convince the regulator that what you're going to put into the building conforms to fire safety requirements in the building code. So it's perfect, really, for that example, is that ULEU certification gives you the information in terms of the fire performance for that particular product, whether it be a fire door, a fire stop, or whatever it might be. And then that can go to the regulator, and the regulator can see that and say, well, actually, you're putting this specific product into the building, and therefore we know how it was tested, what format it was tested in. It conforms with what you say is going into the building. So that's really, really been important. And the other thing is that building owners, particularly in housing, have got now a statutory duty to inspect their fire doors in blocks of flats and communal areas, and the doors on bin stores and those kind of things, cross corridor doors protecting lobby escapes and things like that. So they have to inspect those on a regular basis. And now, obviously, if you're inspecting them on a regular basis, you can find that there's issues with doors, the hinges might be broken, or the closers, or whatever it might be. And therefore, if you understand what's in your building and your certification supports that, and you can say, well, we've got this type of fire doors, and these are the closers, these are the hinges, these are the letter plates, those kind of things. Then if you have to replace any of that because it's damaged or it's just worn out, then you can actually go back to the certification. You know exactly what's been installed, and you can then replace it quite easily. If you don't have that information, it becomes a lot harder. So yeah, it definitely supports the kind of safety aspect of building, particularly in housing. It's really important.
Yeah, totally agree. Just to clarify, under that REBA process, that is active and passive, or just one or the other?
It's all systems. It's all it's all fire safety systems. So approved document B obviously does more than just passive. It covers the active systems and the requirements for those as well. So you, as a developer or a main contractor, have to convince the building safety regulator that what you're installing. So let me give you an example. In the past, you used to be able to get away with saying, we're going to install 30-minute fire doors. But now they want to know which 30-minute fire doors you are going to install. So you've actually narrowed it down to a specific product, to a specific, test methodology that's been done and proven, rather than just a promise to install. So that's the kind of subtle difference now, where it's all about that information and availability of information and being able to check it. So you can actually verify that the product conforms rather than just a vague promise to actually put something in that works. So that's the key difference. And that kind of ties in perfectly with the process we go through in terms of certification to give a lot of information about that product. So it is that product, you can look at it and say, well, went on the fire test rig. Okay. Does that match what is going into the building? Yes, it does. Okay. We've got conformity there. Obviously, with the clarification that whoever installs it's got to do a good job. Duncan, sometimes that doesn't always happen, but you've got to make sure it's installed correctly. But it's a good starting point, and particularly good installers. So if you're a third-party certificated installer, you're going to rely on third-party certification like ULEU to then say, right, well, this product I know has been tested and certificated, so I'm going to install that. So it's really valuable for kind of installers.
Yeah, and that whole process is really now tightening up the ability for the non-reputable builders, designers, and installers to go away from what is the current best practice, which is hugely reassuring. Gentlemen, we've just about come to the end of our time here on today's podcast. I'm going to come to you each individually, see if there's anything that you'd just like to add as a final statement, comment to the listener in respect of what we've been talking about, looking at the ULEU mark. Simon, starting with yourself.
Yeah, I think just ULEU allows manufacturers that kind of credibility. So it gives them some, and it also helps with trade associations and membership, like the ASFP, for example, Association of Specialist Fire Protection, insist their members have third-party certification for their products because it's good practice. So it's kind of setting the bar. And I think that's really key. It's raising the bar and setting that bar at quite a high level.
Excellent. Thank you, Richard. You've had a chance to have a little think about this while Simon's been giving his. So away you go, sir.
Yeah, I think we're seeing increased recognition of it by ULEU scheme and increased demand. And I think what it boils down to really is trust.
Yeah, simple and succinct. If trust's there, then that paves the way most of the time to a successful resolution. Chris, I'm coming to you last. You've had the longest to think about your answer, but you've also got the risk that the other two have already provided your answer. So away you go, sir.
Sure, I'll just come back to the point that Simon made earlier about the history of ULS. 130 years as a safety company. UL has a truly safety mission. We do believe in it, and I think that's something that's quite special in the industry.
Yeah, having that buy-in and that belief is certainly a testament to what the company's done over that period of time and the longevity. I'm Duncan White. I'm the managing editor of the International Fire and Safety Journal, and I've had the pleasure this afternoon speaking with Simon Ince, Richard Bristow, Chris Johnson from UL Solutions. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Duncan.
For further information, you can go to ul.com.